It has been said that boats are holes in the water that you dump money into. And, well, I think there's some truth in that. But in this case, we're not even getting into the water before we're putting money into this thing. Make this a quick video. Got this old boat, and it's a SeaRay 20-footer, and it's got a small block Chevy, and it's got a goofy outdrive. It's one of those goofy Stringer 800s from OMC. But when we got the boat, part of the reason why we were interested in it is because it really is a low-hour boat. I think it has somewhere around 500 hours actual. It's got more time just corroding than it does actually doing anything. So what we're going to do is just pretty much do some maintenance items on it. Start from scratch. Putting new ball gears in it. Those are the gears that transmit the power from the motor to the leg of the outdrive unit. Gonna get a water pump. You know, just basic maintenance items. In addition, it's got one of these rubber transom seals. So, bought a transom seal for it as well. And plus a whole bunch of polishing stuff to try to get the oxidation off the gel coat and make this thing look nice. This is the summer project. One of the things we did, my wife and I are doing this, is we're replacing all the bearings in the hubs, and we replaced all the hydraulic brake systems. It had a pair of hydraulic brakes. Tore it right out, and we're putting electric brakes on it. Got a kit in just doing that. And also upgrading the tires. These tires have got a 1,700 pound rating and go 65 pounds as compared to the tires that were on it. I mean, there wasn't anything particularly wrong with those. I just don't trust anything that's been sitting for that long. So all 4 new tires. So I was getting 4 new tires and new brakes, electric brakes, and pulling the hubs and getting rid of the old bearings and putting in new bearings and races. That's the project for the day. The kit we got for the brakes is pretty complete, and it comes with a box for the battery, a battery plus a breakaway switch, all the wiring we need, backing plates, drums, pretty much the whole deal. We pulled out all the hydraulics from the old system and just starting from there. I think I'm going to replace the springs too. They look like they've been beat up pretty bad. You know, I should have just bought axles complete. And the other thing is I got to get some bearing buddies. Saws are taking a back burner for a little bit until I get this done. The other thing is I got some fiberglass couldn't find Marine Tex when I was younger and did boats a lot. I used to use a brand name called Marine Tex, but I think this Napa fiberglass resin and jelly mix will do what I want to do. I hope. It's got some scratches and dings where the previous owner had run it into those sharp edges on the trailer. So going to start piling up the video, and as this boat comes around, it may take a year, may take 2 years. I'm going to start putting together the video of the restoration of this old boat. You know, I wish it was a Merc Cruiser, but the price was right. Got the OMC instead. The motor doesn't have hardly any hours at all. One of the reasons I'm getting rid of the bearings in the races is they don't have any wear, but from sitting for so long, there was actually little bits of corrosion where the bearing actually corroded a little bit into the races itself. No wear at all. Just what happens when bearings sit for too long. They had grease in them and everything. It's just you just can't stop that electrolysis process. So, you know, we got bearing kits. I don't know, like 20 bucks a pop. Come with races, bearings and everything. So the rear hubs are getting the new bearings put in them, and the hubs that came with the kit for the brakes, these are the old hubs. The ones that are on there, the new ones, they already had the bearings with them. So all I had to do is pack them. And, you know, again, days gone by, I used to use this in my motorcycles. I've got a couple of these tubs around. So that's what the hubs are getting for their baseline grease, is that Bellray. So what I've been doing is putting a little bit of heat on it, and I have my vise set up where I can set this right in the vise, and I have a punch that I use for pushing out races over there. I really don't have it set up with a camera, so I can't show you, but I got I popped this side out already and put the new race in using that technique. So anyway, I'm going to warm this one up and tap it out, and then use a bearing pusher to push a new race right back in there. Now here's a better picture of that punch. Use it for years and years, punching wheel bearings out of motorcycles. And now it's taking these darn things out. I'm going to put that set of races in and then set the seal in. I wonder if I should set the camera up. I don't know if I have time though, because it's going to cool down. So anyway, I'm going to see if I can get this in. I'm going to chill this down, then come back. It'll set, you know, it's the same thing with the case bearings on the darn Husqvarnas. I'm going to shut the camera off and chill this down. So had a chance to gather my thoughts a little bit instead of trying to cram it all in there. Couple of things. One, I had to pull the seals out of the back of these things. I had these nasty old seals in there, and what I did was set that in a vise, and I used a tire iron to actually pry them out, and that came out pretty quickly. So now I can put this away. And once the seal comes out, then you can get the rollers out, and these are, you know, these aren't bad. I don't know if you can see that. Sometimes but some of them you'll see on this. Some of the bearings were bad because they had corrosion right here where they had set for a long time, and there was corresponding corrosion on the races. I already threw the races out, so I can't show you them. I still have these races, but they're not as bad as the ones I pulled out before. Oh, I guess you can see it on this one. You see those vertical lines? That's the beginnings of pitting into the case hardening. And I know there's people out there who say it'll wear back in. In my humble opinion, when you get to that point, get rid of them, because it's just going to promote flaking of the case hardening off these things, you know. So this bearing set, in my mind, is really gone, and it's not dead from wear. It's not what killed it. What killed it was just sitting there for a long time, and just a little bit of electrolysis eating a little bit into the races. This was a Timken brand bearing. Wow, made in USA. This is a much better bearing going out than what's going in. The only problem was, you know, it just sat too long. So anyway, pretty much, you know, mechanics is mechanics. What works on the motorcycle and the chainsaw cases, putting in bearings, works with this. You know, you have the ability to warm this up and expand it and chill down the races, and they'll go in a lot easier. So right now I have one of these sitting in the refrigerator, and I've got this out here, and I'll warm it up with this propane torch. Doesn't have to be too much, and then I'll hope I can just set that in there without burning my fingers, and then take this tool right here to drive it home. This is another one of those must-have tools, by the way. I've had this forever. I can't even remember when I bought it. Been that long. Dead blow hammer. I use these to knock the bearing buddies out. Doesn't dent things up. You know it's bad. So now I can put this one away. Oh, I need it because I'll put the bearing caps on with this. I think that's been around a while. I had these since I was a teenager. Now you really can't dilly-dally around. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to set it in there first time. That's it. Did I have the camera on? Son of a bitch, I did. So that's really all it takes, you know. Having the right diameter here helps, because that actually fits right in the inside of the So this hub now has two, it's warm, new races. Do it again to the other hub. And you know, bearing sets are cheap and it's really easy to do. It's not that hard. It takes longer to get the things off and clean it up than it actually does to do the technical work on these things. So anyway, moving on. You know, the right way to do this is to put it in the palm of your hand and squeeze that grease right in there. I'm just such a wuss. See if I can get this in there fast enough and see if I can get that seal set in there fast enough too while it's still nice and warm. You know, you just pretty much got to get your hands in it. No way around it. This is another one of those trickier than average type operations, because you got to get it in there, and if it starts getting a little bit out of alignment, it's almost impossible to salvage the darn thing. So kind of helps to have this vertical here to help get it aligned. Yeah, see, that's it. No sense in even trying. I'll ruin it trying to jam it in like that. There you go. That hub's ready to go on. Don't want to touch my camera though, do I? I'm going to go set that hub right on there. Actually, I got to do the other bearing, don't I? Get a reservoir of grease in there. That's what that's all about. Yeah, when I used to do the motorcycles, I had this nice little tool where you could put them in a cup kind of thing and squeeze that grease right in there. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I'm too much of a wuss to do the right thing and put it in the palm of my hand, so this is going to have to do. And if it gets hot, you know, some of that reservoir of grease from the hub will save my bacon. That hub is going to go right on the axle. Yeah, this goes into the category of mechanicking is mechanicking. I like to put a little grease where that seal's going to have to slide up on there. You know, just to help things along. So that spring, that's shot. Going to have to replace the spring. Don't have a spring right now, so it's going to have to wait until I do. I don't know. Maybe that'll make a nice video too. Kind of like these where they have the split ring. Goes like that. Then you have this castle nut that goes on there. And I'm going to work it right in there. There should be plenty of grease in this rig. No, I like to take them and draw them up tight. You know, I mean not too tight, just squeeze the grease out of them where they bind just a little bit. And back it off about a quarter turn. And I'll adjust them again, but that's what you got right there. And while I'm here, I might as well put the tire on. I really like these tires. They're made by Carlisle. Carlisle used to be a really good brand. I don't know where they sit on the stack anymore. One of the things I like to do is pretty much anti-seize anything that's going to have to come back apart if it's going to be in the water. Of course, this is from years of living on the Hudson River. Had that brackish water which just darn near corroded anything. It's almost as bad as salt water. I keep telling my kids not to get old. They don't listen. Cows and dogs making their thing, making their noise. Got this darn thing from Napa, and man, it's got a lot of power. So for these, I go back to the tried and true $25 special from about 20 years ago, because I don't want that much torque. Number one. Number two, I don't have a 13/16 impact driver, but I do have this S&K, so I can wind it on with this. That ought to be tight enough. And there we have it. Now I got to put a cotter pin in there, and then the Bearing Buddy. But man, is that better than it was. I sure like those tires too. Highly recommend these things. One of the reasons I like these over what was on there before is these trailer tires run at 65 pounds, you know, and they're 1710, 1,710 pound rating. I don't know if they're an 8 ply or a 10 ply. It's a load range D. Anyway, that's really it for now. I mean, Cotter pin cap. That's all I got to do. I got to put the tire on the other one too. Our cows are giving us a symphony out there. Gonna have to adjust those brakes. Basically, you wind them in where they start braking a little bit, then back off 10 clicks. I'll do that. I'm not sure I'm gonna put it on camera, but I do have to adjust them. Nice new lug nuts on this side because the lug nuts came with that kit for the new brakes. Kind of happy with the way that came out. It was an eBay deal. I don't know. I think it ended up being about $200 for everything it took to convert over. Backing plate, you know, complete set of brakes, anti-seize, pretty much everything. Should be tight enough. Well, that's it. 2 new sets of bearings and new brakes and new tires. Moving in the right direction. I don't know if you noticed, got these heavy old jack stands. Used to use them for tractors. Yeah, I've got them basically spanning the frame, so the axles and stuff are suspended between those 2 jack stands. And part of the reason you got to do it that way is the weight of this boat is in the back where the motor and the outdrive is. So if you just jack up one spot, I mean, that frame is not really that heavy. You're going to end up bending your trailer. So basically I did it and set it down easily and shimmed the back jack stand so that both of them came down evenly. So there was no twist or bend in that frame rail, because we're doing this with the boat on. If you noticed, can't move the boat just yet. The trailer winch and the winch mount I have off at a weld shop, making up a different one, and once I get that back, then I can start actually moving the boat around. I think we're going to back out, and it's a little breezy out, a little choppy, and go give it some more throttle time to see if we can't get this thing to clean out. And what this is a 1981 SeaRay SR200, and as you can see from the interior, it doesn't seem like it had a whole lot of time. Changed the transom seal. The transom was good and solid, so that was encouraging. So let's go for a ride. The Dodge handled the towing chores beautifully. Handled that boat, not even a problem. I guess the total weight of the trailer and boat's about 6,000 pounds. Well, have to put those on the trailer before we head home. And what would a trip be my family without having to do major operations. So that trailer came apart. We had to get it welded. Get rid of those springs. Putting brand new springs on. It up out of the water, kind of like the old monkey in the football routine, but here it is. Yeah, it didn't do too much damage. Those springs, you know, they make me nervous a little bit because the hook is shorter in the back, and I don't want to have the hook undo itself. No, I don't think it will, but damn, that's close. Roadkill on steroids. They have a whole support mechanism doing their operation. We got you